What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 6 of the Speak Up Sports Podcast with Cass, Chris, and Shad. What's going on, yo?
What's going on, man?
What's up, y'all?
Glad to be back.
Yeah, back at it. Week 5 of the NFL.
Week 5, yeah.
The season's going pretty quick, honestly.
It's honestly crazy how fast it's going, too. It's like, damn, we're going into week 6. A couple more weeks, we'll be in the middle of the season.
Trade deadline, we'll be in the playoffs before we know it.
Fast.
And we're back on the cycle or waiting again. But with that being said, what was y'all's biggest takeaways from the week?
Ooh. Honestly, I didn't have many like crazy takeaways from like what happened. Like nothing truly shocked me. I mean, yeah, nothing really shocked me. Everything, like, I mean, of course, we didn't get all our picks right, but like the Bears finally got on track, which is wild. Justin Fields looked like a real quarterback.
I don't know about that.
I mean,
he played well. He played well.
They put up numbers on them.
I don't know about getting back on track though. That's okay. We'll see. But what did you think, Chris?
It was an enjoyable week of the NFL. I would say that it wasn't too much. It wasn't boring or nothing like that. But like Cass said, it wasn't nothing that was just out the ordinary. I mean, we'll get into it, but we all predicted that 49ers would win. I don't know if y'all thought that they would win like that. So that might be the more biggest surprise. Like out of all the noise that people make about Dallas and all that, they played a real team, man. It just looked as bad as he can get. So
let's go ahead and get into it then.
Yeah, let's get into it because Shad did call it. He said San Francisco will win convincingly. I wrote it down too in our notes. I was like, all right, yeah, convincingly.
I said Brock Purdy was going to make a statement. He was going to stand up and show that he was quite possibly now, in the MVP conversation. I know his odds have gone up a little bit, but like I said, I really, really felt that they were going to win convincingly. Dallas is obviously we kind of talked a little bit about it, how the offense didn't look necessarily right, and but it didn't really matter because they were blowing these teams out. But now we start to look at it, and it's like, okay, they play the Giants, who are obviously they're not very good. They play the New York Jets, who they obviously weren't playing as well as they're playing now, and they, once nobody thought Zach Wilson was going to do anything. So I'm just going to write them down as the not very good. The Cardinals, who people thought were not very good, but Dallas got smoked by. And then ultimately the Patriots, who we'll get into them too, but they're definitely not good. But unfortunately, Dak, we're back to the same spot that we were at the beginning of the season. Is what are you going to do when you have the opportunity to play against these tougher teams, against the teams that you're actually going to be facing in the playoffs? Not the New York Giants, not the teams that you beat up on all the time. But what happens when everything's going wrong? Are you going to be that one to stand up and get your team right? Are you going to want, if your team's not great around you, are you going to be the person to elevate them? And, unfortunately, we keep seeing Dak kind of fall short of that. But
it was a little disappointing to see how he ended up playing in this game, especially with the turnovers. While a couple of them were, the game, you could say the game was pretty much out of reach. Yeah. But just like the overall, just the flow of the offense didn't look good. They had the one touchdown to Turpin.
Early. Great pass.
Yeah, great. That was a dot.
Yeah.
But then they couldn't get going after that. From the jump, you could go wanted this game better. They were way more physical than Dallas was.
I mean, like you said, I don't even care about the turnover. Like you said, it was pretty much out of reach. But then when you think about it, somebody has said this. One of the broadcasters said it earlier, and it was just like, what do you look like when your defense ain't doing what they're supposed to do?
Mm-hmm.
They're the game that blowing teams out. I mean, he ain't turned the ball over, but I mean, he ain't necessarily had to put the ball in harm's way because your defense getting pick sixes, fumble sixes, you getting blocked field goals. Like at this point, or can you, when the defense is doing all they can do, but they just don't have it today, are you going to be able to deliver? And it's like, he hasn't.
And they had chances. Yeah, they had chances early in that game. Sorry to cut you out, but like they got like 2 back-to-back 3-and-outs on Brock Purdy off of tip passes on third downs. And those
after that first series, yeah.
Yeah, and that was your chance to come back and get some points on the board, and you couldn't do it. Now, I mean, a lot of talk has been about his options around him, which, going into the season, that wasn't really too much of a question. But now it's like, well, is CeeDee Lamb a number 1 receiver? Where's Brandon Cooks, Tony Pollard?
But I mean, and honestly, that was one of the things that I had mentioned in the first episode when I had said that I didn't think that Dallas was going to make the playoffs. Was how is Tony Pollard Deuce Vaughn and Rico, how are they going to do? Relax. Relax. How are they going to do as the running back trio? And ultimately, I mean, they've been okay. They've been good. How is that going to last throughout the season? It remains to be seen. But now Dallas is in a tough place. They've got the Chargers coming up on Monday Night Football this week, and it's Justin Herbert. Obviously they're coming off of a bye week, so that makes it even more, more pressing for Dallas and gives that advantage to the Chargers. But obviously Kellen Moore's been in the building. They know him. He knows them. It's how that defense looked. I mean, Brian's probably coming for revenge, and it's going to be a sight to see if Kellen Moore comes back and then they end up smoking Dallas, even if it's not maybe like how the 49ers did, but it's a convincing win.
Yeah.
What is that going to say about Mike McCarthy? You fired this guy. I mean, they've already got questions about Mike McCarthy, so we don't need to add on more, but that's going to be something else that's going to be added on, especially at the good start to the season. So a lot of questions for Dallas, but one of the things that you did mention was CeeDee Lamb and the conversation about him being a number 1. What's you guys' opinion on that?
Man, they should never have let Amari Cooper go.
I agree.
And it's coming from, because we play them twice a year. Every year I'm an Eagles fan. We play them all the time, and it's like our attention has always been going towards Amari Cooper, like his route running ability, just being able to get open, separation. It was literally deadly, and it's like CeeDee Lamb made plays, but he never felt like, man, he a game changer. Like when, like you said earlier, Kaz, about the whole about just Tony Pollard in general, is like, at the time, Zeke is a way better back at his peak than Tony Pollard has, and I don't think Tony Pollard would ever be that. And that was a fear, like, dang, we gotta go get Zeke. He could break one free. He gonna run hard. Same thing with Amari, and it's like CD doesn't really present that. Like I just never seen him win against elite DBs. I seen him go in the slot and go against other DBs that maybe not the top tier outside DBs, I should say. I've never seen him just win against a top tier DB like consistently.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like CD is, I think he's an excellent receiver. I think he's, he has the skill set, but as far as being that reliable, receiver in and out for Dak, I don't think that's it. I don't know who you turn and look at, instead.
But sorry to cut you off, but that's interesting because they did just go get Brandon Cooks, and they did. Obviously, Michael Gallup is another year removed from his ACL injury, and they were probably expecting him. They obviously signed him to that contract right after he tore his ACL, and they probably expected him to be making that another jump this year. Now that he's another year removed, so I don't know if I like in terms of the fit around CD. I don't know if I like all the receivers now that I've seen it play out, how Brandon Cooks, and obviously he hasn't played too well. And ultimately, the definition they typically say of a receiver 1 is that guy that can go get it for you on third down, and that big or when you need that big play, a la Tyreek Hill against the Buffalo Bills in the playoffs, when they, obviously he took off and beat old boy from that had the angle in that playoff game. Or even last year, was it last? Yeah, it was last year when the Bengals in one of the games, the Bengals and the Chiefs had played. It was a big fourth down, and Joe Burrow just threw it up to Jamar Chase, and it's two guys on him. He just goes up and gets it.
Yeah.
It's stuff like that. And if you want to look at it from that perspective, I guess you can say that CD maybe hasn't taken that step yet, and maybe they kind of, like you said, got rid of Amari Cooper a bit too prematurely. But I mean, at the same time, CD had like 1,300 yards and damn near 10 touchdowns last year. I mean, so I mean, he might, if he's maybe not that guy that you I guess quote unquote say is going to go get you make a play for you or something like that. But I mean, he's right there.
Yeah.
But with that being said, I mean, enough about Dallas. They got their ass kicked. The 49ers, Brock Purdy. I told y'all he was going to come and make a stand, and that's exactly what he did. 3 touchdowns to George Kittle. He had a fourth touchdown there. I mean, he made great pass after great pass, especially the one, I don't know if y'all remember in the game, he hit, I want to say maybe on a corner route, he hit Brandon Ayuk, and they ended up calling it back. And then for a holding, and the very next play he came right back. It was like 2nd and 20 or 2nd and long, 3rd and long or something like that. He hit Debo right over the middle. I was like, oh yeah. I was like, that boy's on a heater. But I mean, aside from that, Fred Warner dominated. Chris always likes to call him the best linebacker in the league. My boy Shaq has been hurt over the past couple of years, so we can give him that title for the time being. But I mean, he dominated. He absolutely dominated. The whole defense dominated. I mean, they look like the best team. So I know y'all, the Eagles are undefeated, but I mean, they look like the best team in the league. We said that about the Buffalo Bills last week, and probably the Dolphins before. But I mean, they're undefeated at this point, and they've won in multiple different ways at this point.
And that's the thing. Like they're winning these games by controlling the game. They have control of every single game that they're in. And that's tough. That's tough to do. And I mean, they haven't had the worst of competition. They had more competition than, like, say, Dallas has. You know what I mean? So I mean, they played the Steelers. They played, of course, Dallas.
They played the Cardinals. They played the Rams.
They played 2 division games.
Yeah. So I mean, they're definitely putting out. They're making a statement this year, and the Rams look like a well-oiled machine right now. And it's tough because Christian McCaffrey didn't do next to anything in that game.
And then it could have got more ugly because he fumbled on the goal line, basically.
Yeah. And they still had this game in reach. So, yeah. I mean, Dallas pass rush couldn't get to Brock. Like Micah didn't do nothing in this game.
Visible.
It was, they whooped that ass.
But speaking of Micah, what's up with the beef, Chris? Micah and Devo, they say they got smoked.
I mean, Debo, man, look, Micah talking too much. I mean, what can you say? You lost. I mean, at this point, it's like you getting mad at them saying having a fuck Dallas shirt, and it's like, okay, I mean, what the old saying? If you want somebody to stop doing something, you need to stop them. Like,
you need to shut them up. Yeah,
shut them up. But hey, they score. It is what it is, and I mean.
I don't know, Chris, but Mike said
I mean, obviously they ain't gonna see them. They ain't gonna see them into the playoff if they ever see each other again.
If they make the playoffs,
right? Yeah, exactly. So, but at this point, it's like they got your number, man. Like, just shut up and just do what you. I mean, not shut up and just play, but it's like y'all not doing enough as a team. It's not even just on the offense. It's on y'all.
Hold it down for a little bit until you get your get back.
They got it this time. We'll see them again. That's it. Like, I mean, what are you getting upset for, in my opinion? Like, there's nothing to be upset. Okay, he got a fuck Dallas shirt, so.
Yeah, he said it made it personal. But I do have a question for y'all. I mean, as the three of us goofy niggas are sitting here podcasting about them and what they're doing, how do y'all feel about Micah Parsons and, going through a podcast while he is, playing, and then, it leads to stuff like that where things are said. Ultimately he is by himself. He just be talking and rambling at some point. So what y'all think? Y'all think that's something that's positive or that could backfire on him?
I mean, at this, go ahead. All right, at this point, I think it is what it is. He has a solo podcast, which is hard to do. You know what I mean? So you are sitting there really just talking, and to have, I think the day that he recorded his podcast didn't help either. Like right at the day after the game, like that. And maybe you want to give yourself a couple of days to kind of like, you know, get a taste out of your mouth a little bit before you want to speak on it. But he recorded,
I mean, he couldn't necessarily do that because remember he already had a little issue last year when he was supposed to go on Undisputed, and then he didn't end up showing up after a loss. So I mean, that wouldn't have been back-to-back times. That really wouldn't have been a good look, and that was really never even addressed like that
at all.
But yeah, what was you about to say, Chris?
I was gonna say, you know what? I'm not even. I think I'm okay with the podcast in general. I would like to see him maybe have somebody else with him to help him, moderate through the stuff. But I don't think it's gonna be an issue because I think really like if you ever like just listen to him talk, he's being honest and genuine, and it's not like he's like trying to downplay somebody for real. He's just talking, and I think people are more receptive of okay, he's just talking. He's not like trying to stir nothing up or just make some controversy. He's really literally saying what he feels and trying to be honest and trying to not step on toes because like he even talked about the whole he didn't like what's his name, Rodney Harrison trying to bait Chris Jones into saying about Zach Wilson. He was that's not right. Zach Wilson actually, and so I think people are it could be worse. That's what I'm saying. It could be worse. It could be like people see it and take it one way, but I don't think anything he'll say short of straight up saying fuck somebody. Short of that, I don't think nobody would really be like upset at him about saying something.
The only thing is, it remains to be seen, as Dallas starts getting into kind of. I mean, we've talked about it for the past couple of episodes, and how they have a kind of a tough stretch of games coming up, especially starting with the Chargers. Obviously, we obviously mentioned the 49ers in that same sense, but if they start taking some losses, I mean, you never know what comes in, how honest you do get, especially unfortunately. Yeah, still got the Eagles. They got the Rams coming up, the Chargers. I mean, the Rams are no slouch. The Giants and Panthers are butt. But
then they got the Dolphins and Bills at the back end.
Yeah. Dolphins, Bills, and Lions.
Yep. And they lost to the Commanders last year too. On the last game of the year, when Sam Howell's first start, and he was going up and down the field on him. I think Dow threw a pick six on like his first pass, if I remember correctly, or something like that early on. So I mean, we can't just tuck aside the Commanders either. But with that being said, we already mentioned a little bit about Justin Fields already. So what was y'all's takeaway from the Thursday night game with the Commanders and the Bears?
Not even gonna lie, utterly shocked. I did not see that at all.
Yeah.
I mean, from our perspective, we literally just played these guys. They played us to overtime, and I'm like, okay, they might not straight up blow the Bears out, but I didn't think it should have been a close game. Just to see
y'all ass.
You done? Anyway, but just to see them like do what they want with the Bears is kind. Do what they want with the Commanders is kind of like damn.
Yeah.
Y'all chill.
And I knew like after watching the Bears defense all season, like they're really not. The Bears defense is not it, right? So I knew there was a chance to come back if you're the Commanders. I thought they were. They came out of halftime. I think they scored on that drive after halftime, maybe, or at least on the second drive after halftime. But they couldn't get in a rhythm. And then, I mean, Justin Fields did what he had to do. They made crucial plays, especially down the stretch to keep it at bay. DJ Moore,
hey, we didn't even mention him.
Boy, so it was good to see, honestly, for Justin Fields. I'm not saying this, this is a turning thing. It's not a turning point in his career. Like, he still has all the issues that have been there throughout the past 3 seasons. But for him, these last 2 games, he has looked well. I mean, he's
definitely can help the confidence a little bit, but one thing, you can never underestimate Chris is Ron Rivera and his coaching. Ron Rivera, some of the decisions he makes is
terrible.
It's interesting, but and they've got to protect Sam Howell. I mean, at this point, he's been hit 49 times in 5 games already. That's almost an average of 10 a game. And it's not like and to say that, I was about to say it's not like he's built like Anthony Richardson, who's somebody that we've already seen is now on IR. Sam's kind of he's more like a Baker-sized dude. So it's going to be interesting to see if they'll be able to keep him upright. But another thing that we haven't talked too much about is they've got to get Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson involved. I mean, like they haven't made much noise at all in any of these games that they've played. I want to say through like most of the game, they only had as a collective like 2 catches or 1 catch. So like they got to figure that out on the offensive side because they started off hot 2-0, and then it's been downhill since. So
no, I agree with that because we going into the season we thought, oh man, they got 2 over 1,000-yard receivers out there, like, but the way they're scheming
with
up,
Curtis Samuel too.
With Curtis Samuel and the way these games are going, it's like Jahan Dotson hasn't had a game, maybe 1 game over 40, 50 yards.
Yep.
So far, like he's not really that involved in the scheme and the game. But I don't know if Sam Howell's just not throwing it to him. I don't know if they're just not scheming him open. But he's a special talent over there, and you're not seeing it. They're like he's going to Logan Wilson is Sam Howell's favorite target right now. You know what I mean? Logan Thomas. Sorry.
Logan Thomas.
Yeah, is his favorite target, which for a young quarterback, it's always the tight ends being the
former quarterback.
Yeah, so they got to figure out something on offense, man. I agree, and that's like the coaching. They have it. They got to figure out on the back end too on defense for sure. The pass rush has gotten better. This game, not so much, but like the past couple of weeks, like the pass rush has gotten better. They're starting to get to the quarterback a little bit more. I think Chase Young. How many sacks does he have on the season?
I think Chase Young's around like 4.
I think
he's showing up at the me and Cass called him out.
Yeah, so he's catching on. You just got to put it all together. They don't have a bad team, and I said that they went last season they went 8-9. They don't have a bad team, but they can't.
There's a lot of pressure on them. It's a lot of pressure on them. Like I mentioned in the first episode, they've got new ownership, so and Ron Rivera's been there for some time. They haven't been great since he in his tenure there, and I think they've only made the playoffs one time, and they were like 7-9. So it's probably gonna start looking like it's time to make a change.
I was just about to ask that if y'all think he's on the hot seat. What are the chances?
He's definitely on the hot seat.
What are the chances? Do y'all think they will promote Eric Bieniemy?
I
think it's slim to.
It depends on how the rest of this season goes for their offense, because the offense is not looking like how it should over these last 3 games.
And another thing is that Eric Bieniemy, the rumor is a lot of part of the reason that he hasn't gotten hired is because of some of I think he might have had like some domestic abuse or something like that, or I don't want to say anything he did anything wrong like that, but he had some issues back in college, and supposedly that's supposed to be a part of the reason why he hasn't been hired. So I don't know, just for PR reasons with Washington are, kind of trying to change their image and stuff like that, if they would go ahead and lean into having him as their first head coach with that new ownership. So
I thought you was going to mention something about, basically players coming out saying, they don't like how he coaches, and it's okay to be
that's a part of it too,
coordinator, but to be a head coach of an entire team versus the players not really liking your style or method.
Yeah.
And let me make sure that so looks like back some time ago he had gotten a ball fight. He's also obviously been looks like he got had his multiple traffic violations. He also got into some firefighters, and then lastly,
They be whooping ass, don't they?
and
Firefighters.
then I mean, he's
Those supposed to be the
been
nice guys.
been arrested
Everybody
for
like
driving under the
firefighters.
influence, and then last, he was allegedly harassing a female parking attendant. Like I said, I'm not trying to say anything negative about him because I don't know.
Right.
But that is just obviously some of the
Quick
rumors that
Google
are going
search
around.
away.
Yeah, you know. So, but yeah, well, I don't know. We'll see. But they've got to get it together. But and the same with the Bears. They've obviously got their a win out of this one. So we'll see how the rest of their season goes. Supposedly, I saw some reports that Justin Fields is started to get more comfortable, and he started to insert what he likes into the offense and such.
Yeah, I saw that.
So that'll be interesting to see. I saw that they also said that they want to drive some more plays with specifically for DJ Moore, which obviously would make sense. And then getting Claypool and obviously the issues with their deep defensive coordinator, maybe getting that out of the way. Maybe they will turn their season around. So
they got a winnable game this Sunday, and that could help that case. Very winnable game against the Vikings. So
are we saying that the Bears have winnable games now? I don't know. That's kind of crazy.
It's the Vikings. I mean, they had the same record. I mean,
we'll see. We'll see.
The Vikings without Justin Jefferson, but we'll get into that.
Yeah, but we can get into that next big game of the week in London. Buffalo Bills versus Jacksonville. I believe I went with the Buffalo Bills, and I missed on that one. But ultimately, it was kind of a sleeper game, early morning game for me. Definitely an early morning game for you, Cass, there in Colorado. But kind of they looked all right. The Buffalo Bills, they jumped on the Buffalo Bills pretty early. Buffalo Bills got hit with a bunch of injuries. Daquan Jones, he got hurt. Matt Milano, unfortunately, looks like he's going to be out for the season. That's going to be a big, tough loss. Obviously, they already lost Trey White. Another one of their corners had gotten hurt, and he ended up coming back during the game. So they were just kind of taking hits. They did get Von Miller back. Obviously, Greg Rousseau was out for the game as well. So they kind of started off. They started off super slow. I don't think they got their first points until the third quarter. It was like 11-7 for most of the game. It was kind of a sleeper on both sides. I know, both Trevor had some good stats, but he did fumble twice. I think it was in the red zone, but it was definitely on the Buffalo Bills side of the field. And then ultimately the Buffalo Bills got hot a little too late.
A little too late. And
too late.
I think how that game started off, and especially after finding out that they traveled to London on Friday.
That is crazy.
That is honestly, it is crazy, especially with how much the time difference it is between here or in London to go there on Friday. And of course, they came out after and didn't want to say that was a reason why or whatever. They had excuses, but that got
valid.
Let's be real about it. And I think
it's not an excuse; it's a reason.
And that's what made that slow start. So like. The start of that game was just unbearable to watch, and I'm sitting here. And of course, here it's 7:30 in the morning, so I'm sitting here like, man, what the hell is going on? Like, it's just bad football all around, bro. Buffalo couldn't get anything done. Jacksonville was shooting themselves in the foot because Jacksonville really, honestly, they should have been up like 3 or 4 touchdowns on Buffalo. It shouldn't even been that close of a game if we're being honest about it, because of how they started off. But they just kept making those mistakes. And
Buffalo kept biting themselves. What is the term? Biting themselves in the foot?
Yeah.
They kept biting themselves in the foot. They kept getting penalties that were like holding penalties on offense that were pushing them back, or continuing drives for Jacksonville, whether it be illegal contact or holding or something. And it was just they were just super sloppy the entire game. Even when the big passes to the Stephon Diggs could have went for a touchdown, but they were just a little bit off on the timing. But Chris, what did you think?
I I tend to agree with you especially on the Jacksonville tape, they didn't look like world
They didn't
beaters.
look dominant. Yeah, they didn't look.
They won the game, but it never felt like, oh my God, this is like. Well, for me, I picked Jacksonville to win y'all division, but it wasn't like, oh yeah, these are Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm looking, that it didn't. They don't look that good. They still don't look that good. Something going on with them, but it's unfortunate for Buffalo because even they lost the game, I think it's like if they lost the game, but they still got they players all good to go, but to lose a game.
And what's crazy to me is that was a Buffalo home game, which is crazy because how that's not right to have that listed as a Buffalo home game. You sacrifice a home game for a team that's been there. I can see if y'all both got there in the same week. A team that's
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that is kind of interesting.
That's a little messed up from the schedule makers, but
and who's to say that? And I'm not a doctor, so who's to say some of the quick travel and the quick turnaround didn't lead to some of the injuries just for your body's not rested like it should be and stuff like that. So that's something to look at. But keep in mind that the Ravens and the Titans are playing overseas, and I also saw that the Ravens have already left, and they're going to spend a week, and the Titans are planning to do the same thing that Buffalo did.
Yeah, I saw that.
So that's going to be something to watch to see if that affects. I'm going to pick the Ravens anyway, but that'll be interesting to see if that ends up turning out to be the Ravens coming out on top and Tennessee kind of starting off a little slow. But I do want to mention that. As much as I said the Buffalo Bills didn't necessarily not the Buffalo Bills, but Jacksonville didn't necessarily look like world beaters. Trevor did play an excellent game. He was hitting consistently. Probably, I want to say he hit like 5 straight, like 3rd and 10s on back-to-back drives. Like dude was going crazy, and then he had that great pass to Calvin Ridley at the end of the game to kind of pretty much iced the game. Yeah. I have no idea why they had Micah Hyde on him one-on-one. Not to say Micah Hyde's on scrub or something, but that's the number 1 receiver going against a safety. You're probably going to lose that every day of the week. So I don't want to get off this game without mentioning that. But with that being said, next game we can get into is one of the teams that's going overseas with the Ravens and the Steelers in that ugly, slow game. God damn, my boy, can I get some? Can my boy Lamar get some love? I said this man was going to get MVP, and now he's playing like an MVP, but his receivers want to drop passes. Damn, they hating on me.
Yeah, and okay, so over 7 drop passes in that game, and
2 touchdowns,
and real catchable balls too. It's not like these are like he's leading like the one by your boy Chris Nelson Aguilar. He catches that. That's a touchdown. That's 100% a touchdown. But first off, you going up with your hands. I don't even know where his fundamentals are. But he never could catch. So it is what it is with him. And then, of course, like you said, Shad, like you dropping in the end zone. Who's that, Zay?
Boatman. It was Boatman. Rashad Boatman dropped in the end zone. Mark Andrews dropped one damn near in the end zone. I'm like, bro, come on.
Yeah. It was rough, man. And then that pick that he threw at the end didn't help his case because now they're like, oh, he didn't play perfect, but it shouldn't even
pick and then the fumble, honestly, because he fumbled at the end of the game.
Fumble at the very end, which is that boy. That boy
TJ was tough.
Different too. That boy TJ Watt is different, and that's still a defense, man.
It do suck from Lamar because you played as well as you could play, and then to lose in that fashion, and then lose to the Steelers offense didn't do shit.
Nothing. It's been consistent. Been consistent like all year.
They have a run game. The run game is non-existent there. It's
they get a couple splash plays here and there from Jaylen Warren and Pickens has his one splash play.
That's about it. You get one big ass splash play, but you just got to make sure it's at the right time.
That's what happened. That's what has happened in 2 of their 3 wins. Because of big plays to Pickens, and that kind of looks like, oh shit.
Defense makes holds as long as they can till they finally get a fumble, and then
and that's kind of why I picked the Steelers. Not only was because it was a division game. But I just was like, well, if I feel like if the defense can just keep it just close, just within a 1-2 score game at most, but really 1 score game, like 7 or 10 points, I felt like it'll be just one play that they'll have to make because
it always happens. It always happens
because those drops happen on third. Like most of them happen on third downs. Like where you got to punt the ball after that shit. You know what I mean? You can't even get a chance to go out if you're Lamar. It was tough. Man. It was tough to see. It was tough to watch. You know, just
definitely tough to watch. Definitely tough to watch.
Yeah.
And I mean, and it didn't help the Steelers at all. That the questions about Matt Canada and their offense. I mean, it's getting to a point where it's obviously everybody's been blaming Matt Canada, but you know, kind of like the same thing we saw with Mac, or we're saying we saw with Mac Jones is, you know, his year 2 development. Are we still going to start seeing that with Kenny Pickett? Because Kenny Pickett, I mean, he's basically terrible throughout the whole game. And then, you know, for a lot of their wins over the past 2 years, he's been not great throughout the first 3 quarters, and then excellent in the fourth quarter when they need it. But which that's all good and fine. But at the end of the day, like that's not something that's sustainable. So, you know, it's going to be interesting to see how the season continues to go for them. If they can continue to sustain that, I mean, they'll begin Deontay Johnson back here soon to kind of complete that receiving crew for them. But
I think the biggest thing is like there's not a win that they have that you could say their offense did it for them.
Not at all.
Yeah, there's not one win they could say that. It's like you might have made the splash play, but the defense technically did it because they got the turnover for you. Or they kept the team from scoring, like, you know, scoring for themselves, and then putting y'all in position to ice the game. Whatever.
Same thing with Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
But that goes back to what Shad said, like, you know. Now, you know, I mean, technically speaking, what we saw. Matt Canada's still not doing what he's supposed to do, but they got the dub. It's like, okay.
It's like they're doing just enough.
That's fire him because it's the dub, but it's like he's not doing what he's supposed to
do. He's keeping his head above water. That's all it is. He's just keeping his head above water, boy.
Yeah. It's impressive.
But with that being said, I mean, ain't too much to say about that game. And really, a lot of these games, Dolphins, Giants, I mean, Dolphins got up on them, boat raced them.
Jones is hurt, which is not surprising that it was only a matter of time before he got killed behind that offensive line. And they call it a neck injury. You know, his neck really long, too, so I'm not surprised. That shit snapped. That shit snapped. Yeah,
ain't too much to be said about the Lions and Panthers, obviously. I mean, we could talk a little bit about the Lions, but you know, the Panthers are still kind of looking.
That's why I want to talk about the Panthers and your coach, Frank Wright. And of course, you know, you did mention this. You mentioned it even before the season started, how, you know, historically he gets off the slow starts, his teams. But it's like this situation right here, I think this is a little worse than a slow start right here. This is like you're not even moving. You're not even starting, so you're not even moving, and then you're doing nothing to help Bryce's case. As far as the play calling and personnel, like going into the season, you didn't think, like, of course, you go out and get Miles Sanders, your boy Chris, who had 1,000 yards last year. You go out and get Adam Thielen, who is he's a solid number 2 receiver. And of course, you're expecting jumps from other guys, which hasn't happened. But like, you didn't think that it would be this bad.
I don't know, and we just slid that in there. Adam Thielen's a solid number 2 receiver. No disrespect to Adam Thielen,
his career, but he's been a solid number 2 receiver.
I mean, he was a number 1 for most of his career, but in terms of last year, he was basically a 3rd receiver over there in the Vikings. That's why that boy got cut. But
and he's still putting up numbers for the Panthers. I mean, he is
there. He's eating, but he's getting up there in age, obviously. So shout out Adam Thielen, though.
But what I'm saying is, like, you have a little bit of the weapons now. Like, you shouldn't be out here looking this bad.
It's
not like he got no weapons.
I really don't know what Frank's got going on over there, because, you know, somebody actually tweeted this, and it's ended up going to be. It's kind of funny because somebody was like, "How much does it suck that you traded away Caleb Williams and DJ Moore, for Bryce Young?" But we'll see. You know, I have some thoughts about Caleb Williams, so but we can get into that as we get in later into the season. But with that being said, I did see a little rumor that Jerry Jeudy followed everybody on the Panthers, like basically like a lot of their players. So we'll see if he finds his way over there. But another thing I wanted to mention is that's interesting, and we haven't really I haven't really mentioned it before, but I wonder if one of the issues that Colts fans had and myself was that when Frank Wright was here, it always seemed like we didn't really get when we had Ty, we didn't really try to get Ty on number 2. Like we tried to go the route of like Dontrell Inman or Devin Funches or stuff like that. And it's like we didn't really and obviously we did get Paris Campbell. Obviously we ended up getting Michael Pittman, but like that was kind of towards the end of Ty when we really needed some damn receivers. Mm-hmm. So in now that the Colts obviously still have the same GM, but they've been a lot more aggressive in trying to acquire receivers this year. Obviously we went and got Josh Downs in the draft. We picked up my boy Isaiah McKenzie from Georgia. I don't know if you guys noticed, but we did end up picking up KJ Hamler as well, and just picked up Anthony Miller. So that's something that we didn't really do during Frank's time. So I'm wondering if there's any correlation there in terms of like Frank kind of devaluing the receiver position because he thinks like his offense is good enough that he doesn't necessarily need those those difference makers. So, but.
I mean, it's a solid point, which we'll never really know, what I mean? But I think, to couple that with, like, of course, the little, I don't know, I don't want to say rumors, but like talk of he didn't really want Bryce to begin with. That was the owner's choice, and that he wanted CJ Stroud. Just like all of that. It's just something weird going on with the Panthers, man. I don't know. It's just
vibes are off.
The vibes are real off over there. Like seriously. And y'all called me crazy for calling. Y'all called me crazy for calling Miles Sanders a complimentary back before the season started in our preview. But that's how he's treating Miles Sanders. Like I'm not saying he is or he ain't, but he's like the way the offense is set up. You're treating him like he is a complimentary back, which is crazy.
And sometimes that was a little bit of my frustration as a fan with Frank is that because his offense was so multiple, there was times that it didn't seem like he leaned on his playmakers enough. Mm-hmm. Like it seems like obviously it's good in terms of when it does work, it's good because he's targeting, he's trying to go after weaknesses and stuff like that. But, at the end of the day, like,
use your playmakers.
Use your dogs. Use your dogs. But not too much else aside from that. The Lions look excellent. I know that you guys kind of predicted that they were going to be really good this season, and I mean they're continuing.
I didn't think they'll be this good though.
They're continuing their excellence. I mean, second year under Ben Johnson, having him as an offensive coordinator, and their offense is. I mean, it's one of the best. It's probably second to maybe Miami, second or third to Miami and the 49ers. But Ben Johnson's been a genius. Sam Laporta, he's been looking like a top 5 tight end in the league, definitely so far this year. They obviously haven't used Gibbs too much, but
that game,
yeah.
That's what Amon-Ra. They got Jameson back, but Jameson didn't do too much. You're still working him back. But they got some weapons there when it all comes together. And of course, they treating Gibbs like he's a complimentary back as well. And you saw his comments today. You saw Campbell's comments today. He was basically speaking out.
He's a change of pace back.
He's a change of pace, and that you need those running backs to get 20, 25 touches, which of course is David. So
I mean, they've been doing it, and he had like a 40, 50-yard touchdown as well. I mean, they've got a great offensive line, so for them, they'll be able to continue to churn out yards with David Montgomery and an offensive line and kind of control the game like how they have been. Even with the Chiefs, with all those drops, they still kind of controlled that game as well. But to go to a team that we've talked about needs to kind of use their weapons, the Atlanta Falcons. Yeah. Atlanta Falcons and the Houston Texans, what a game. It ended up turning out to be, even though neither team could really score, but You know, we've talked a lot about the Falcons and Desmond Ritter, so I'll give the floor to you. How you feel about your squad? Nigga, speak up.
We say we talked at length last week, really, about the state of this franchise and this coaching staff. And you mentioned, I think your exact words was Arthur Smith is really coaching for his job, and they played that game. He called that game totally different than what we've seen. He was way more creative on offense. He let Desmond Ritter loose a little bit, and it was great for Desmond Ritter to have that under his belt, and especially after the game that he had. You know, you want to see that from a young quarterback to come back after throwing and basically losing the game the previous week, to come out and throw for your first 300 yards. You run for a touchdown, throw for a touchdown. You get all your weapons involved. All
game winning drive.
Like it was good to see. The defense is what's surprising me this season so far for the Falcons. They're really holding these teams down. Like they like, from memory, the Lions game, they scored off of crazy, like they have miscommunication with results in like long touchdowns for the other teams, and that happened. Yeah, you know, Jesse got worked in this game against the Texans, but it happened in like against Sam Laporta in the other game. Like they losing track of these tight ends. But those are like, other than those like big plays, they're really solid. And I'm liking what I'm seeing. We're not getting many sacks, of course, but they're getting pressure still. You know, the DBs are working together. You know, it's good to see Jeff Okudah actually getting some run, and hope he stays healthy. But like I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. But it has to stay, because like you are a different team at home than you are away. Clearly, and it can't stay like that.
I mean, that's also kind of what happens. And one of the things, I know we talked at length about it last episode, but one of the things that I did mention is that Desmond Ritter is essentially a rookie, and we do have to give him time. So it was a great thing to see. This is a big game. He was definitely playing for, you know, the fans to get off of his back, get the monkey off his back for sure. And I mean, he made every throw. He got his one thing that I did really, really like, and clearly it's something that works and needs to continue, is on the last drive, on the game-winning drive. If you go back and watch it, guess who the Falcons hit for their plays? Bijan, Kyle Pitts, Drake London. Nobody else saw the ball. Your stars saw the ball. They went down the field, moved down the field with ease. I know that you do love the defense, and we've been talking about how they've been playing solid. I do also want to say, you know, we kind of need to should have pumped the brakes a little bit on CJ Stroud. They are, like, he did have those two excellent games, but their offense, there's still something like where, you know, they're still struggling to continue drives. CJ, when he does complete his passes, they're obviously always beautiful. They're always spot on. But he does still have some accuracy issues in terms of, you know, definitely when he's under pressure. And then in terms of his completion percentages, he's still right around the low 60s, maybe even into the 50s. So, and the run game hasn't gotten started at all.
That's
really,
what I'm
with
saying.
Damian
Like,
Pierce.
so that's not helping his completion percentage at all when you're throwing every time, pretty much.
Yeah.
You know, they're running. The running is
still hasn't thrown a pick though.
You know, still has not thrown a pick. He broke the record in this game for the most passes by the pick start of season to start a career.
Which is funny, because I know you guys kind of gave me that look when I had made the Dak Paul George comparison in earlier episodes, but that was actually CJ Stroud was the person that I was thinking in mind when I was saying, like, quarterbacks kind of come in studying Dak, kind of mimicking his game. CJ Stroud and Dak are like literally that's like his comparison. It would be Dak Prescott. So it is interesting to see that he was the one that broke Dak's record. I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what else CJ has in store for this team going to this, like, the rest of the season. It's honestly just about his growth now. I mean, of course, especially looking across, you know, his contemporaries. You know, Bryce not having the season that we all that they hoped he would have, and then now with Anthony Richardson out for at least a month, maybe more. We still don't know. It's all CJ now. It's like it's the ball's in his corner.
Good opportunity for him.
Mm-hmm.
But it might not all be CJ because we can get into Anthony Richardson and the Tennessee Titans, the Colts versus the Tennessee Titans, because at this point the Tennessee Titans are starting to get to that point in the crossroads in their season where, right now they're 2-3, the Colts are 3-2. The Jaguars are 3-2. The Colts and Jaguars obviously play this week, so one team is going to be hopefully one team is going to be 4-2 and not tie like last year, the Colts and Texans.
I wouldn't be surprised by that.
I wouldn't be surprised either. But with that being said, Tennessee could start to see where if they lose this game against Baltimore, Ryan Tannehill might be coming back to him being shipped off elsewhere. So that's something to think about. But with that being said, obviously the Colts ended up winning. Zach Moss, the big news, and we didn't even mention this, big news, Jonathan Taylor. I told y'all Jonathan Taylor was coming back. I told y'all he wasn't going nowhere. I told y'all he was about to sign. Look, I don't know y'all be listening.
It's funny
man.
that he signed that contract, and then Zach Moss was like, "Yeah, you're gonna still get my touches."
Yeah. and the Colts offensive line dominated. So it's the Colts, by the way, won that trade with Zach Moss going to Naheem Hines. It looks like thus far, but Zach Moss kind of revitalizing his career. He was a 3rd-round pick with the Buffalo Bills. Clearly, the Buffalo Bills do not know how to use him or something because they could definitely. I mean, obviously, their running game has been good thus far, but
it's all right this season.
But with that being said, the Colts offensive line dominated. One of the things that they were on a 5-game losing streak against Tennessee, and one of the main reasons that they were on that 5-game losing streak was because Tennessee was a lot more physical. They kind of dominated the offensive and defensive line, dominated the trenches. But this year, this game, the Colts took it to them. Nothing but pancakes between Will Fries and Quentin Nelson. We finally got Ryan Kelly back. We still had Bernard Ryman missing on the left tackle, but the rookie Blake Freeland played well as well. Obviously, Anthony Richardson started off excellent, man. He was having a great game. Him and Josh Downs, or Josh Downs ended up having a great game, kind of maybe looking like Josh Downs might break out. Had almost 100 yards. And then Anthony Richardson on a routine tackle, fell on his shoulder, and now he's got a grade 3 AC joint sprain or something, whatever the injury is. And
how do you feel about that? Because I understand, it is football, and anything can happen on any play, but he's been hurt in every game. He's been nicked in every game, and of course, we talked about how he didn't finish 3 of the 5 games that he's played so far this season. Right. Going forward,
go ahead.
Because he got hurt 2 times on design run plays. Another one on the scramble out or whatever. But it's like, are you going to call it different now? Like, what's your plan going forward to protect him? Because he got to be out on the field at the end of the day.
I mean, he's got to protect himself, obviously, but I mean, the thing about it is that's a routine tackle. It's a routine tackle. There's really nothing. I mean, that's just unfortunate. At the end of the day, he was the youngest quarterback in this draft class. He's just turned 21, or he's maybe still be 20. He's out there going against grown men. So, I mean, he is going to go through his bumps and bruises. We've seen quarterbacks get hurt. Josh Allen missed a chunk of his rookie season. We've seen Matt Stafford miss some of his rookie season. We've seen quarterbacks, early on. Matt Stafford actually, people thought he was injury prone. Early on in his career. So, we've seen it. So, I mean, it's unfortunate. It's also could be a blessing in disguise for him to kind of just sit back and learn and watch Gardner Minshew, see how he's able to protect himself. When he does, obviously Anthony Richardson, since he got the concussion, if you've been paying attention, he's made it a point to slide. He's made it a point to not trying to lean into that contact, obviously, unless he needs that additional yard or whatnot. But, it just gives him a better opportunity just to kind of continue to learn while he's out. And hopefully the Colts can stay afloat. So that remains to be seen. But what were your takeaways from the game, Chris?
I mean that shit really do suck though, cause
Fun to watch them.
It is fun to
yeah,
watch them.
it is,
You
and
never
it's
know what's
like,
going to happen.
damn, you like Cass said, like you just got hurt, you just came back, you hurt again, but
Yeah,
it's just
Yeah.
football, man. It's just sometimes
it is.
that shit don't work out for some people. But I'm just hoping, like you said, it don't seem like it's too bad. I mean, I'm pretty most people who are getting put on IR now, unless it's a season in the injury, they normally coming back in 4 games. So he should be back. I'm expecting him to be back.
The one
But
thing,
hey, lucky y'all got Gardner Minshew. I think
yeah,
y'all will be
that's
able
for
to stay
sure.
afloat. Y'all will be able to stay afloat.
The one thing to mention is that what we don't know, the reason that it's been 4 to 8 weeks is because we don't know if he's going to need surgery yet.
Yeah.
They want to see how the rehab process goes, obviously, and then kind of decide if he needs surgery. So surgery obviously is not necessarily the route that you want to go, but at the end of the day, we've seen what we needed to see from Anthony Richardson. I feel like he's the thing. It's kind of funny because obviously the plays that he's gotten hurt and probably had most of his worst plays have been when he's running or scrambling. He's had a fumble here. Didn't get a fourth down here and there, and he's actually done a lot of damage from the pocket, which a lot of people didn't think. But ultimately, it's kind of a positive for me because if the Colts aren't able to stay afloat, Marvin Harrison Jr. season, if they are, which I think, I do believe that they will be able to. I think the Colts have a really good team, a team that, not trying to be a homer, but it's a lot of talent on that team that people just kind of chuck to the side because obviously they had a bad season. Yeah. Offensive line is already back to being top 5 in the league right now. D-line still looking good. The statistics for our defense doesn't look as good as the defense as the play has been. But young corners have been playing well as well. Zaire Franklin. You said Fred Warner, Zaire Franklin been up there. Okay.
No, you do make a good point though. Like we seem we need to see from AR. If he doesn't come back, honestly, I think he'll come back this season. But if he doesn't, if he needs time,
if he doesn't, it's not he not losing.
It's not the end of the world.
It's not the end of the world.
Yeah, that's it. That's his job.
But one thing to continue to pay attention to, the Tennessee used Spears. We've talked about it a little bit here and there, but they use Spears a lot. And Derrick Henry just, he hasn't had that Derrick Henry game.
He's not getting going this season.
So it's been interesting to watch. Is that something that are we seeing slippage from Derrick Henry, or is it the offense? Like, what is it? I mean, they've had a bunch of injuries on the offensive line, so I mean that could be part of it. But that is something to continue to watch. But with that being said, injury that we have been talking about a lot is my boy Joe Burrow. We've been talking about Joe Burrow. We've been talking about Jamar Chase. We've been talking about them Bengals and how we kind of wrote them off. And now they did right back.
Now they came back from the division.
They came back, especially because my boy Lamar and the Ravens ain't taking care of business like I thought they were. But they're one game back in the division, and it's looking a lot like last year.
Yep. And they look like a well-oiled machine in this game. Of course, Jamar Chase went nuts in this game. 15 receptions, 192 yards, 3 touchdowns. I mean, of course, it was against the Cardinals, which we got to temper that. But the Cardinals have been terrible. This is not the worst team in the league that they win against. But it was a get-right game for them, and they used it as such. It was good to see. It's good to see them bounce back. I still have questions about their defense. And then just the sustainability, I want to see it against better competition because they got a tough division, and they all have tough defenses in that division. So
and they've got a tough game coming up this week.
They got a tough few weeks. I'm looking at their schedule now. They go against Seattle, then San Fran, then Buffalo.
And Seattle's coming off of a bye week.
Back to back. It's Seattle, San Fran, Buffalo.
Seattle, San Fran, Buffalo.
Ooh. Yeah, it's gonna get very interesting for him. And they didn't have T Higgins last game. Hopefully, he's able to come back this week. But it was great to see. Joe Burrow was moving around a little bit better than he has been in the past. I know he said that he was feeling a lot better.
Yeah.
Obviously, Jabbar 7-11. He said he was always fucking open, and he was always fucking open. Cardinals still looking good, still looking frisky, scrappy.
They were in it for a little bit.
Yeah,
they were, they've been in every game for.
They were leading, and then they got the pick six,
and
then it got ugly from there.
Yeah, Josh Dobbs, man. Hey,
Atlanta boy, he making plays. Hey, but like I said, it's been good to see. It was good to see them play. We'll talk a little bit more about that singles Seahawks Bengals game coming up next week. But aside from that, that was kind of really the biggest games of the week. We can talk a little bit briefly about the Eagles. They handled business. Them and the Rams. I know we said that the Eagles would be on upset alert, but the Rams actually played pretty well in the first half, and then the Eagles actually, for once, made some switches defensively, and they originally, I mentioned to you via text over the weekend, and I said, if y'all leave them that middle open, they're gonna eat y'all boys up, and that's exactly what they were doing at the beginning. That's how it was. Puka and Cooper Kupp was eating. Mm-hmm. And then they started making them kind of go outside, and credit to the new defensive coordinator, and that's kind of when things changed. Biggest drive of the game was obviously, in my opinion, right before half. If they didn't score right before half out there, I personally think they probably would have lost that game. Yeah. And it was huge. It was great to see AJ, doing AJ things, and but briefly, what y'all think?
Go ahead, Chris.
It was good to see the adjustment at halftime. Like you said, when you sent that message, I'm just looking like, bro, it's about to be a shootout because we were moving the ball. I mean, we still have our red zone issues, but between the 20, like this is the third. Actually, this is the fourth week in a row we racked up 400 yards of offense. So we're moving the ball. Mm-hmm. We just not putting the end zone. So at that point, I was just like, they don't even want to make the adjustment. That's what it looked like to me. It was like, okay, we're just gonna play what we play. Whatever it happens, it happens. It was really high key pissing me off because I'm like, bro, just like, man, double team if you got to, like, protect the middle, push it outside. Yeah. But it was good to see the adjustment though. It was great to see adjustment. And that boy Jalen Carter, man.
Yeah, continuing his dominance.
He's a problem, boy.
Continuing his dominance. What about you, Cass?
Nah, I mean, it was. I did pick the Rams to win that game. Yes, yes, Chris, I did. But
so did Shy. But
I said I did.
So did Shy. So they definitely proved me wrong. It was more about not even like them just being like a bad team, but I just know like y'all have not been playing to the level that y'all even admit to not playing to. Right. And I just thought that just would be the week for that to come about.
And the Rams have only lost to the 49ers, y'all, and then the Bengals. So they've only lost the teams that were in the conference finals last year. So, that's they're not a bad team.
Again, if you look at it, every one of those games they were in it. It was never a blowout. It was they were there.
They were the team that played the Niners the closest as well. It was only a 7-point game. And then, it was a close game for, obviously the ending score was still pretty close, but it was a really close game between the Rams and the Eagles. Matt Stafford also missed that pass to Tutu Atwell. Boy, it about to be like 70 on your head, Chris. It's about to be 70 on your head.
Talking about?
Nah, I'm just talking shit, but aside from that, we can get into the Chiefs and Vikings game was pretty good. Ultimately, Justin Jefferson ended up getting hurt in the first half, and Patrick Mahomes or Travis Kelce also got hurt and ended up coming back. Patrick Mahomes. He was spectacular. Not much else to say. The Vikings do what they do. They make it close and then got a game-winning drive, and they ultimately just didn't get it. So not much to take away from me from there. Aside from there, they're probably going to start making some changes. Obviously, I mentioned Justin Jefferson was hurt, so now he's on IR, and will be out for 4 games at the minimum. So at 1-4,
tough. After coming out, and we all knew they would regress, But the starting season off 1-4 after winning 13, like you lost 4 games all last season, you starting off less than 4 games.
And they're literally the definition of regress because they had the best record in 1-score games last year, and they literally they've lost every single game in 1 score.
Yeah.
So it's literally the definition of regression. But yeah, I mean it's tough. They're gonna have a lot. I mean it's probably gonna be a fire sale.
You got Neil Hunter being a free agent after this season. You still know what you're doing with Kirk Cousins. Of course,
this is Justin.
Justin, you got to pay Justin soon. You got to make a decision,
you got to make a decision.
Make a decision. Is Minnesota could be head start to a rebuild?
They already shipped off. Shipped off Dalvin before the season started.
Shipped off Dalvin,
and they don't look good for either side, really. Because Dalvin ain't done nothing, and Madison ain't done nothing either, really.
Madison he ain't it. But
so, they got a lot of questions. But, like I said, ain't too much to say about that game, honestly. Ain't too much to say about the Raiders and Packers game. It ended up getting a close game. But, Jordan Love, my boy, you let me down. I had the Packers up there.
It's been rough for them.
It's been rough. And I don't want to get into it because I'm just talking shit. But, Jimmy G played all right,
Jair came out.
Jair came in after he still be throwing them picks, bro.
Yeah, and Jair was like, how he gotta, gotta, pick up the slack because the offense is young.
We gotta score, and that I ain't necessarily like that, but it is what it is. They are a young squad, but Jordan Love, he's in an important year too, so unfortunately, obviously, Aaron Rodgers kind of put him in a position, or the Packers and Aaron Rodgers put him in a position where he's really got this 1 year to prove himself. But he's got to step it up quick because it hasn't looked good through a lot of the games, and then he's been able to turn it on. He's got to put together a consistent game, but aside from that, it really wasn't too much going on in that.
It really wasn't. It really wasn't at all. We could talk briefly about okay, so let's talk about these Patriots, all right? And not really
and that's why I was about to take it as well. So
so Bill Belichick. Where did they go? We talked about it last week a little bit, and we did mention, of course, an option being, take away some of the GM powers or whatever, just have him purely as a coach. But we know, Belichick he's pretty stubborn, so who knows if that will even fly. Maybe you just have to fire him outright, honestly. But this team is not good, like at all. Like no part of this team. And you lost your 2 best defensive players last week, and that doesn't help. You instantly give up 34 to the Saints. So Derek Carr, who hasn't been playing well, you made them look like it was. They dominated. It was.
Man, it's
the Patriots.
It's hard to say because it's hard to say what it is, but ultimately, I think they're at a point where it's time for either Bill to maybe step down and coach elsewhere, or he needs to allow for a GM to come in. And they've had a lot of connections in the front office that have obviously gone and done other things. Thomas Dimitroff is somebody that comes to mind, they can bring in. But hey,
I got my thoughts about TD.
But him, I think
that's your boy, Cam.
Stop Pioli. I know they're not. I think they're in like TV now, or doing podcasts and stuff like that. But they might be willing to come back to because they obviously have a working relationship and stuff like that. But they need somebody else in the building to at least be picking the players, because at this point, he's had his struggles. He clearly knows what he's doing when he's picking defensive players, because all the defensive players seem to progress. They make plays. They're consistent.
They play their best for him.
Yeah, but try it now. No disrespect to Juju, no disrespect to Devontae Parker, no disrespect to them guys, but
Bourne, all them.
if we're gonna sit here and criticize Dak and CD and say he's not a number one, then what the hell is Juju, Kendrick Bourne, Devontae Parker? What are they wide receiver 4? For real. And I mean, no disrespect. I mean, at this point, Juju is, he's a shell of what he used to be. Devontae Parker, he's never been somebody that was great at separation. And maybe they'll, never. Who knows with Tyquan Thornton? I mean, obviously he hasn't played, and who knows? I really don't know how you try that offensively out, man. Like it's for receivers. Obviously, Mac Jones has been absolutely terrible. He's probably been the worst quarterback in the league thus far. Another pick 6 this week, and it's just. There's no time. Stevenson's not even looking good, and he's slowly having his numbers or like his snaps diminished for Zeke, who's we clearly know that. No disrespect to Zeke, obviously he was a great running back. He's not necessarily that at this point. So I mean, and the thing about it is there where's the
help coming from?
Where's the light at the end of the tunnel? It's exactly what I'm looking for. I mean, Devontae Adams, maybe Jerry Jeudy. I don't really know. I don't know.
I think you just gotta go at this point.
Well, definitely not Devontae Adams. It's not happening.
No, yeah. At this point, I just think you just need a whole new situation. Bill got to go. You just need to start over fresh, creating a whole new concept there, because this is not it. You cannot continue to roll out. You cannot continue to have Bill Belichick as your coach for next season, and Mac Jones is your quarterback, and still not bringing no receivers or anything, and expect anything different. This team has not been that good. I mean, it's just simple as that. It's just I hate to say that for like
it's a legendary coach.
It's all I'm saying, but. I mean,
I do want to say that I hate like the revisionist history, like people being like, "Oh, it was all time. We told you it was all time." Like, bro, like, dude, it makes me mad. Obviously, I'm a Colts fan, so the revisionist history of Tom Brady. Obviously, we saw what Tom Brady became in his career, and he obviously won 7 Super Bowls. But
those first 3,
he was not. It wasn't Tom Brady. Like there, he wasn't. It wasn't He wasn't. The best people like to say he was the best quarterback. The best quarterback in that era was Peyton Manning, it wasn't close. Like, I'm sorry, like Peyton Manning won 5 MVPs in the same span. He's got the most MVPs in the history of the NFL. He went to 4 Super Bowls. He's won 2. So he's not just some slouch that was just out here getting regular season numbers. Like, Tom Brady was great. We all know that. Tom Brady's the GOAT. We all know that. But at the end of the day, like, he wasn't what he ended up being. He wasn't best Tom Brady at the beginning of his career. So, people got to stop saying that. Like, people got to stop hating on Bill Belichick. And
you cannot sit there and tell me the first 2 or 3, definitely the first 2, like, that was big.
The last Super Bowl, when they won against the Rams, they just played the Rams in the.
That's facts. That last one against the Rams, that was a defensive slugfest.
Shit, I mean, we can say, basically every damn near everyone came down to the last drive or something. Like, even the Seahawks championship, obviously they was going back and forth. It was a big offensive game. That's what it came down to. A defensive play by Malcolm Butler that, guess what? Bill Belichick told us about this on Friday and we practiced it. That's the only reason the nigga got the pick. So, like, come on, man. Like, show that man some respect. Show that man some love, man.
Yeah.
Give him his flowers.
That being said, he can
go.
He might have to go.
And that's okay.
He might have to go.
It's what it is, He
might have to go. But with that being said, that wraps up the week. We don't need to get into Jets and all that. It is what it is.